150,000 flag-waving Americans gave Vietnam veterans the welcome home they never had. Today, more than 8,000 vets received warm cheers. A decade ago, it was cold silence. We'll have details for you on that story, on the death of Prime Minister Begin's wife, and all the rest of the day's news coming up next on the 10 o'clock news.
In New Orleans, where good music and good food go together, we're at world-famous Arnaud's restaurant. We're secretly replacing the fine coffee they usually serve with Folgers crystals. Are dark, sparkling Folgers crystals rich enough to top off a fabulous meal? Watch.
It's good, rich coffee. I like it.
Delicious. I love good coffee like this after a meal. Absolutely delicious.
I'd like to make it at home.
It's Folgers crystals. For kidding.
I would definitely serve this in my home. Can I buy it in the store?
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm going to buy it.
This is what diners at New Orleans' famous Arnaud's told us about Folgers crystals. Coffee rich enough to be served in America's finest restaurants.
My dishes are so beautiful they shine without towel drying.
Dishes shine, really shine. And we don't have to dry!
Before I discovered
We discovered New Lemon Fresh Joy.
I had to dry.
Because with other leading brands would usually get spots.
Not with New Joy.
Only our New Joy leaves dishes practically spot-free.
Beautiful. And without a towel.
Fact is, other leading brands can dry leaving spots. New Joy's unique anti-spotting formula lets dishes dry practically spot-free, down to the shine.
That's beautiful.
Without a towel. So
We've discovered a whole new way to shine.
Try new Lemon Fresh Joy for a beautiful shine without a towel.
I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. They got a million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. They got the best for so much less. You really flip your lid. From bikes to trains to video games, it's the biggest toy store there is.
Gee whiz!
I don't want to grow up, because baby, if I did, I couldn't be a Toys R Us kid. More games, more toys. Oh boy, I want to be a Toys R Us kid.
Join us tomorrow evening at 5 for Condominium, starring Ralph Bellamy and Dan Haggerty on the Movie of the Week here on Channel 2.
Well, another big day.
Especially now that we're a Protect station, Murph.
With a whole new look and the only auto service guarantee backed by a major oil company.
Right.
Now, let's go over it again.
Okay.
Customer comes in for a tune-up. First thing.
You give him a written estimate.
Then,
Explain the guarantee, do the work, and return the used parts.
well, we're ready for business.
Hey, Murph, what's this Protect service all about? Is it a good deal?
Well, Mr. Wiggins, I guarantee it, and so does Union 76.
Look for the Protect sign
And get our guarantee.
at Union 76.
Grandma!
Oh, you're the only one we'd leave Max with.
Max.
He loves you.
And he loves Gravy Train.
Now we love something better.
Oh, come on.
It's true, Gran.
It's improved Gravy Train.
It has a richer, thicker, real meat gravy.
Lot like homemade.
You can add water to the leading dog food or gravy up a better taste with Gravy Train dog food.
My old friend has a new love.
Gravy it up with Gaines Gravy Train.
Some things are meant to last forever. Shouldn't you call your dentist today?
Tuesday at 8, the mystery unfolds. The startling conclusion of Smiley's People on Channel 2. There's only one, 2.
Call the city desk. I got a story that'll crack this town wide open.
With the flair of an actor, President Reagan took dramatic action today, action he hopes will improve relations with the new Soviet leaders. A raging four-alarm fire in San Jose took from those who give today. A Salvation Army warehouse is in ruins.
For the first time since the end of the war, many Vietnam veterans finally feel welcome in America again. In a tear-filled patriotic ceremony, they got their memorial. An expected confrontation between President Reagan and Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin will not take place now. Begin is rushing home tonight from California. His wife of 43 years is dead. Details of those stories and all the news on this Saturday night, November 13th, 1982.
from Jack London Square, this is the 10 o'clock news, the Bay Area's most complete nighttime television report with the award-winning Channel 2 news team and late satellite coverage from around the world.
Good evening, I'm Claude Mann.
And I'm Elaine Corral.
Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin has canceled the rest of his planned 10-day visit to the United States. He's flying back home. Begin got word in Los Angeles tonight that his wife, Aliza, hospitalized in Jerusalem last month for a serious respiratory problem, had just died. She was 62 years old. The Israeli Prime Minister got a warm welcome from Governor Brown and Mayor Bradley on his arrival in Los Angeles yesterday. He was scheduled to make a speech there tonight, and he was slated for important talks with President Reagan next week in Washington. It would have been their first face-to-face meeting since the Beirut massacre.
The welcome home they never got was finally given to America's Vietnam veterans today. A flag-waving crowd of 150,000 was on hand in the nation's capital as 10,000 Viet vets marched down Constitution Avenue, a decade after America's longest and most costly war had ended. The occasion today was the dedication of a black granite memorial inscribed with the names of the dead and missing, all 57,939 of them. Andy Castles has more.
For the veterans of Vietnam, this was the day that Johnny came marching home. And march he did, by the thousands, in what is said to be the biggest parade in this town since the Kennedy inaugural. They wore their uniforms, their berets, their fatigues. They proudly displayed their medals. Some limped, others traveled in wheelchairs. All of this would have been impossible when they first returned. Vietnam was controversial. Vietnam was unpopular. And despite the fact that it took us a dozen or more years to recognize the brave men and women who served, the bitterness, at least for today, seemed to be gone.
It's our last hurrah, more or less, and everyone here is so high and so up, and we're here for the guys on the wall that couldn't be here today.
It's a heartwarming reunion in such a patriotic city, and I feel fortunate to be a part of it.
For the veterans, it mattered little that the day was cold and windy. They wound their way through the streets of the nation's capital to a spot near the mall where the new Vietnam Veterans Memorial was to be dedicated. Built entirely with private funds, it remembers those who made the supreme sacrifice.
This memorial is another gift from the Americans named on the walls and reflected in the statue.
The ceremonies are all over now. For many of the veterans, the war is now over as well. In Washington, I'm Andy Castles for the 10 o'clock news.
Ironically, the Vietnam War Memorial is on a site where protesters gathered in the late 1960s and early 70s, hoping to bring an end to the conflict. The loss is said to be monumental. A fierce early morning fire, which quickly roared the 4 alarms, totally destroyed the Salvation Army warehouse today that serves 11 stores in 4 counties. The warehouse was the size of a football field, but now nothing is left, not the structure or the donated goods inside. Nothing is even salvageable. John Fowler reports.
It was one of the biggest fires in years in San Jose. The warehouse burned intensely, fueled by tons of donated clothing and furniture. Officials say it may have started from a malfunctioning heater.
It started smoldering, got the building hot, making gases form, and then finally when it got hot enough to break through a window, we had a flash fire that went throughout the entire building. That's about the time we arrived. We figured the fire was probably burning 2 hours before it was noticed.
The men that live in the residence, 85 men living in the residence, were sitting eating breakfast, and all of a sudden we just saw a ball of fire coming out of our main store. Got through the firewall, and once it got to our rags and whatnot, why, the whole warehouse went.
It took nearly 2 hours to control the fire. Damage is set at over $2.5 million. Fortunately, no one was seriously hurt. The dormitory for the alcoholic rehabilitation program is right next door. It was undamaged. But for the men who live there, this was a tough day.
It's demoralizing, not only to administration or myself, but it's demoralizing to the men that we serve. They came out and saw this burning this morning. They said, do we have to move? Will we have to leave the program?
The Salvation Army assures us the program will continue, they will rebuild, but right now they need a new warehouse. An estimated 200 tons of donations were collected just today. As for the destroyed building, authorities say it was not sprinkler equipped because it was built to pre-1970 fire codes. Fire officials say that as few as 2 overhead sprinklers could have stopped this fire when it first started. Ironically, sprinklers were scheduled to be installed here in just a couple of months. I'm John Fowler reporting in San Jose for the 10 o'clock news.
A small twin-engine Cessna crashed and burned 80 yards from the crowded Tilden Park golf course late this afternoon, killing the pilot. Authorities are still trying to identify the victim from papers and documents scattered across the hillside. A tournament was underway at the golf course, and there were lots of witnesses when the plane came down. They say it didn't appear to lose power, but turned right as it passed over the fairway, then dipped, struck some pine trees, and crashed into the ground at a 90-degree angle. The wreckage was strewn over a 100-yard area along a grassy slope above the 5th green. It was so badly burned and twisted it was impossible even to tell what color it had been. FAA investigators are now on the scene. They're trying to figure out exactly what caused that crash. We just learned that a fire has broken out tonight at Santa Rita Prison. They're evacuating prisoners now. We'll try to have details for you on that before the program is over. Also tonight, motion sickness forces a postponement of the space shuttle. Lech Walesa is free. No one seems to know where he is. And President Reagan pleases America's European allies by lifting sanctions against the Soviet pipeline.
Also tonight, Secretary of State George Shultz almost misses his flight to Leonid Brezhnev's funeral after he choked on some food at a restaurant. We'll have those stories and more when Claude and I return.
Alco's South San Jose and Los Altos stores are closing forever. Thousands of color TVs, stereos, and VCRs must be liquidated. We're selling to the bare walls. Many items at near cost or below. Portable color TVs from $199. Video recorders from $344. This stereo tape deck, $77. Pioneer and JVC stereo at liquidation prices. Many items at near cost or below. Alco, South San Jose, Blossom Hill Road near Alameda Expressway. Alco, Los Altos, El Camino Real near San Antonio Road.
The airline with one of the most modern fleets in all the world still believes in the romance of travel. Singapore girl, you're a great way to fly.
Factory incentives to participating dealers could save you hundreds of dollars on new 1982 Dodge Colt and Plymouth Champ 3-door hatchbacks. Now, their low $49.95 base sticker price could be reduced by hundreds of dollars at participating dealers. So you could save like never before on these high-mileage imports with front-wheel drive and room for 5. Built by Mitsubishi, imported only for Dodge and Plymouth. Low priced at $49.95, but factory incentives could save you hundreds of dollars. See participating dealers for details.
Got the look. Jordache.
With a flair for the dramatic, President Reagan lifted U.S. sanctions against the Soviet pipeline today. Mr. Reagan said the sanctions will be replaced by a new trade agreement with America's European allies. As Dave Browdy reports, the announcement was made in the President's weekly radio address.
Call the city desk. I got a story that'll crack this town wide open.
Right there. The president's pre-speech wisecrack was about the only thing unexpected in his weekly radio broadcast. But questions remained about the apparent flip-flop on policy, removing sanctions against the Soviet natural gas pipeline while putting new restrictions on purchases of Russian natural gas.
We've all come together on this, and it is so much more effective that there is now a sanction that serves their purpose.
Till today, the president had opposed helping build the pipeline because it would allow the Soviets to get needed hard currency. And though the conditions this country set for release of those sanctions, including relaxation of controls over Poland, were not met, senior administration officials say American and European countries can now compete for Soviet business. Legal action against companies who'd already defied the ban will be dropped. The move is not a peace gesture to the new Soviet leadership, according to the officials, but President Reagan, who visited the Soviet embassy in Washington to sign a book of condolences to President Brezhnev's family, later offered, if not an olive branch, at least a renewed hint.
We're ready for a better relationship anytime that they are.
Lifting the sanctions will make the Russians happy because it's costing them an estimated $5 billion for every year the pipeline is delayed. It'll make the Allies and American business happy for the same reason. With unemployment high, they'll now be able to compete for an estimated $2.5 billion worth of contracts. The only loser, President Reagan's foreign policy, which certainly appears no more consistent today than it did one day ago. At the White House, this is Dave Browdy.
Secretary of State George Shultz had a few frightening moments today as he prepared to leave Washington to attend Leonid Brezhnev's funeral. Shultz choked on a piece of food. He had to be treated at a hospital. He finally left for Moscow an hour later than scheduled. He'll be part of a U.S. delegation that will also include Vice President George Bush in Moscow. Brezhnev's body continues to lie in state there, viewed by mourners awaiting his funeral. Mike Wills has more.
Among the crowds were representatives of most sections of Soviet society, including a group of astronauts and leading figures of the Russian Orthodox Church. A 3-mile queue formed outside the hall, and ordinary Soviet citizens were only allowed to stay for about 30 seconds. Brezhnev's funeral will be held on Monday, and already there's strict security in central Moscow. It's expected to be the biggest ever gathering of world leaders in the city. While the Soviet leadership has put on a united front since the president's death, there are already signs of a rift between Brezhnev's successor, Yuri Andropov, and the man who is his biggest rival for the job, Konstantin Chernenko. There were marked differences in their speech to the Communist Party meeting at which Andropov was elected. Chernenko stressed the importance of détente and disarmament, while Andropov talked of the strength of the Soviet military machine.
Here in the Bay Area, the red hammer and sickle Russian flag flew at half-staff over the Soviet consulate in San Francisco. The consulate doors were open to Russian nationals and members of the diplomatic community who arrived throughout the day to sign the book of condolence and to pay their final respects to the late Soviet leader.
Mystery and rumors surround the whereabouts of Solidarity leader Lech Wałęsa tonight. Wałęsa was freed by Poland's military leaders on Friday, but he apparently dropped out of sight on his way home. Officials reported his departure around 9:30 Saturday morning, but no one has seen him since. He is pictured here leaving the government's hunting lodge in southeastern Poland, where he was held for 11 months. He was believed to be traveling by car and heading towards Gdansk to be greeted by his wife and children. But Wałęsa's wife, contacted by phone, denied that her husband had returned. And the official Polish news agency, which was just about to report his arrival in Gdansk, killed the story about 30 minutes after its decision without giving any reasons why. More information now from the Santa Rita jail tonight. There's a 4-alarm fire burning there right now. 2 barracks are burning and 300 inmates have been evacuated or are being evacuated. The fire broke out about less than a half hour ago. No other details are available at this time. Claude?
NASA doctors say astronaut William Lenore's space motion sickness this morning could have been triggered by those fiery jalapeno peppers he brought along as a space snack, and he finished off last Thursday. Mission Control today postponed tomorrow's spacewalk until Monday, although Lenore seemed almost completely recovered this afternoon. He and astronaut Joseph Allen will leave the space shuttle and spend 3.5 hours practicing fixing broken satellites and doing extra vehicular construction work in space. It's the last scheduled activity before the Columbia lands next Tuesday. The most important part of this 4-man mission was the flawless launch of 2 commercial communication satellites Thursday and Friday. NASA spokesmen say it proves once and for all the shuttle is a workhorse and it's able to pay its own way carrying commercial cargo.
Coming up a little later on the 10 o'clock news, a gas leak sends dozens to the hospital in Southern California. And the home delivery of a newspaper came a little too close to home today in San Francisco. We'll have those stories in a bit. But first, Mark Ibanez is here to tell us about sports.
Unfortunately, Lane, not a happy night in sports. Just a night after one of boxing's great moments, the Arguello-Pryor fight, the worst possible tragedy has hit the sport. Meanwhile, in football, Stanford had their bowl game hopes shattered, while Cal gets set for the big game with a big win. All the sports is next.
Ortho operates the largest mattress factory in the West and sells direct to you. Right now, you get this fabulous Ortho pack from Ortho. It includes mattress and foundation, 2 sheets, a blanket, 2 pillows, 2 pillowcases, and a bed frame with extra large easy roll casters. Everything is included. All 10 pieces are yours for Ortho's one low price. Treat yourself to a great buy and visit your nearest Ortho factory showroom today. There's one near you.
For health care coverage, you probably thought there were only 2 choices: insurance, but most plans don't cover all your costs, or a mammoth impersonal clinic. But now there's a 3rd choice: Rockridge Health Plan. Rockridge offers comprehensive coverage without those long insurance forms, but Rockridge is small and personal. You choose your own doctor from our staff, and the emphasis is on health and preventive medicine. Ask your employer about Rockridge. You'll like the way we treat you.
It's Smurfs Alive, the latest craze. See those friendly, funny TV characters now in Ice Capades. Papa Smurf, Smurfette, and the entire Smurf family are live and in person in the delightful new skating production, Smurfs Alive. Another first for Ice Capades. It's big, it's fun, it's Smurfy!
Ice Capades with Peggy Fleming and Charlie Tickner is coming to the Oakland Coliseum November 16th through 21st. To charge tickets by phone, call 569-8640.
George Smiley, born in captivity.
Secret agent George Smiley is closing in on his elusive Soviet arch-rival, Carla.
Carla had a mistress.
Come on, Con. Define, expand, come on.
He's piecing together the mystery, incriminating the suspects.
We did kill him also. It will do worse than kill him.
Alec Guinness stars in the chilling conclusion of Smiley's People, Tuesday at 8 on Channel 2. There's only one, 2.
The Jubilee